When I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago, Jeff Jones wrote this on his own blog, quote, "Since midsummer, Glenn Beck, a commentator for Fox News and others, have waged a smear campaign." Notice the common language. Gee, a smear campaign, that sounds exactly what Acorn is saying. Smear campaign against the Apollo Alliance and Van Jones, who resigned his White House post as a special advisor to the president on green jobs and clean energy. Because of my work with the New York State Apollo Alliance and my history of political activism, starting with the anti-Vietnam War movement in the 1960s and my opposition to segregation and racism, I have also been attacked. Notice that Jeff mentions his opposition to segregation and racism. But is that really what he's known for? He conveniently leaves out the co-founding of the Weather Underground, blowing up the Pentagon. That'd be kind of like describing, me as, he's a baker's assistant. I was when I was 7 and working with my dad, and then not mentioning, this show or, that I'm on radio. That's what I'm, most known for. Jeff Jones goes on, he says, "I am committed to the idea of building a partnership of workers, environmentalists, business, government, and social and environmental justice advocates." Do you have that? Does that sound like our republic? You know who else is behind that whole social justice thing that Jeff Jones believed in so much, that he was willing to blow things up? Van Jones.
Mainstream white polluters and the mainstream white environmentalists wound up collaborating to put all the poisons in the black community, in the Latino community, in the poor communities. The toxic dumps started all moving in one direction. They call it "not in my backyard."
Mm-hmm. The Apollo Project. They complained. They complained when I first brought them up that the Apollo Alliance, when I said they wrote the stimulus bill, their complaint was that I didn't include big business in there. That was their issue, that I was smearing them by not saying, like it was supposed to make that better. So here's who wrote the bill: big labor, social justice advocates, environmentalists, and big business, along with the government. I'm sorry, are you even in that mix? Jones wrapped it up with this, quote, "I grew up in a Quaker pacifist family. I was opposed to war, registered with my draft board as a conscientious objector, but the promise of America for me was marred by segregation and a criminal war waged by my government against the people of Vietnam. So as a teenager and a young adult, I dedicated myself to supporting civil rights and opposing racism and ending the illegal and genocidal Vietnam War. I was personally enriched by participating in these movements and by the people I met. I worked with and loved in those years. This is what I mean when I say I do not regret my militant opposition to racism and the Vietnam War. That said, like most people my age, I made my share of mistakes." Wow, let's take a couple of things. First of all, mistakes. Blowing up the Pentagon is not a mistake. Enriched? He was enriched by his work in the Weather Underground. But here is where the train really goes off tracks. "Today," he quotes, "I am using the organizing skills and insights I learned from those movements in my work as a consultant for environmental and labor groups. One is the New York State Apollo Alliance, an affiliate of National Apollo. Apollo is working towards a goal that is simple and straightforward: create good jobs for working people in the new clean energy economy. That's a goal I support and I continue to work on." So what do we have here? We have a guy who is using the same contacts and the same organizing skills that he learned in the Weather Underground. Remember, Weather Underground, and those tactics he learned from Cloward and Piven and SDS, okay? Jeff Jones has never disavowed the violence of that organization. William Ayers said in an interview that ran on September 11th, 2001 in the New York Times, "I wish I would have done more." The American people wanted to know how close candidate Obama would be to William Ayers, to see if he had any influence on policy or any influence on the candidate himself. Yet the fringe media doesn't even bother to look who is actually writing our policies and helping the state of New York implementing them. Not William Ayers, Jeff Jones, the other founder of the Weather Underground. Look at this. They're using the same tactics, Cloward and Piven. They're using the same tactics, fear and intimidation of SDS. Cloward, Piven overwhelmed the system. And look who the president has. Wade Rathke, right up the tree. Dale, right up the tree. Bill Ayers, right up the tree. Jeff Jones, right up the tree. Remember what I showed you about the mosaic? Oscar, show the mosaic again. Pull in, show the mosaic. Here again, if you pull all the way in, this is what they will cover. You got to look at the big picture. By the way, I mentioned George Soros a minute ago. Can you bring up the board? All these places where they're dollar bills, George Soros has his hands in it. There's a lot of stuff that somebody should look into. But again, because of this broadcast, if anybody wants to look into Jeff Jones, they'll say, Glenn Beck was talking about Jeff Jones. Here's what the media will show you. Pull into Jeff Jones. This is what the media will show you. They'll just show you Jeff Jones. And they'll say, oh my gosh, Jeff Jones. And they'll say, should he be fired? Should he be involved in New York? Should he be helping with the stimulus money? Should he be consulting the governor of New York? What's his... That's what they'll do. But pull out, please, and look at the full picture, the tree of revolution. Can somebody else see it and demand some answers? We'll be right back.